It's changing the type of role. Instead of maybe someone doing the work, they're having AI do the work, and then now someone's managing the work. So instead of maybe 5 data analysts, you have some data managers who are managing these programs instead. So it's a shift in the type of work that's happening, and that's what I'm saying. And sometimes people don't realize there's already someone starting to replace their work on the back end, and their work's being shifted to AI.
Welcome to the AI Grapple podcast. My name is Kate Vandervoort, founder and CEO of Social Mediology and the AI Success Lab. Today, I am joined by Dr. Kyle Elliott, career coach to Silicon Valley's Elliott and founder of CaffeinatedKyle.com. From humble beginnings on Fiverr to helping senior leaders land top-tier roles at Meta, Google, and Amazon, Kyle brings a fresh and fearless take on how AI is reshaping the world of work. In this episode, we unpack how AI is changing hiring at the highest levels, while middle management is getting squeezed, and how professionals can use AI tools without losing their humanity. Kyle also shares smart, practical ways job seekers can future-proof their careers and why the best results with AI start with better self-awareness. Whether you're navigating a career pivot, building a team, or just trying to figure out what AI means for your role, this conversation is packed with useful and real-world advice. Let's dive right in. Hi, Kyle. It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
So let's kick things off with maybe giving us a bit of an introduction about yourself and your background and what led you to launch CaffeinatedKyle.com.
Yes, I'm a career coach for tech executives, so primarily senior managers, executives, C-suite leaders in Silicon Valley and across the US and world. And I fell into this by accident. I literally started on Fiverr, if you're familiar with it. It's an online marketplace similar to Upwork. And it was supposed to just be this side hustle in college. I charged $5 to review someone's resume or write their about section on LinkedIn. And then it grew and grew. I lived in San Francisco for my undergrad in college. So that's where I was doing this side hustle. And then I took it to grad school. And then I kept growing into a business, and eventually I left my full-time job to do Caffeinated Kyle full-time. And it's been, oh goodness, almost 8 years now I've been doing it full-time.
Wow, fantastic. So you work with senior leaders who are aiming for roles at the big tech giants that we all know and love, like Meta and Google. How are the conversations around AI shifting in that job search process at that sort of level?
One question that comes up, and usually they just want some reassurance. They're asking, is AI going to replace me? Am I going to have a job later this year or next year? And no, at those senior levels, AI is not going to replace them. The other question is, how can I leverage AI to get ahead in my career? How can I leverage AI in my job search? And they want to know how to be more efficient. A lot of it, they're saying, you and I before this were talking about ChatGPT and how everyone's getting on this wave. I just got an update on my iPhone earlier, and it was giving me summaries of my friend. My friend is dating someone, and it was giving summaries of like their tea and all this stuff. So AI is everywhere. So the people are trying to figure out how do they leverage it in their job search and their career. One of my clients, they wanted to get used to computer science. So they had AI in a matter of seconds create a computer science 101 syllabus for them. And they're like, oh, I would have used to pay money for this, and now I'm just getting it. So there's a lot of interesting use cases that are coming out for people.
So could you talk to us a little bit more around, because I know you said it's not going to affect necessarily senior leaders so much. It's interesting seeing the dialogue around which parts of the workforce are going to be seriously impacted by AI. So it's really obvious that some of those roles that are more administrative or repetitive tasks or knowledge workers, there's going to be a significant impact there. But there's also quite a bit of dialogue about how it's going to affect more of the C-suite or the executive level. Can you talk to me a little bit more about where you do see it having an impact there, or maybe where you think people are safe at that level?
Yeah, you mentioned administrative. I think administrative roles are going to be impacted. I think repetitive roles. And then a lot of people are reaching out to me who are middle management. They're saying, Kyle, they're cutting me. What they're doing is they're getting rid of my role, and maybe they're turning it into 3, 4, 5 roles, or maybe they're leveraging AI some way. And what's happening is I'm not saying that these roles are just disappearing, but it's changing the type of role. Instead of maybe someone doing the work, they're having AI do the work, and then now someone's managing the work. So instead of maybe 5 data analysts, you have some data managers who are managing these programs instead. So it's a shift in the type of work that's happening, and that's what I'm saying. And sometimes people don't realize there's already someone starting to replace their work on the back end, and their work's being shifted to AI or some sort of people. And I think that's what's really interesting here. If you think of like a checkout at the grocery store, there might be some self checkout, but there's still someone managing that self checkout at headquarters. Someone created that, someone has to manage the data. So there's just this shift in the types of jobs that are available at all levels, not just entry level or administrative roles.
Yeah, and someone mentioned on the podcast recently around where the buck stops and where the responsibility lies. And I
Mhm.
think there'll always need to be people who, at the end of the day, are responsible. And so
Yeah.
a lot of those senior leadership positions will still require, that it'll require humans to be responsible for whatever the work is that they're managing.
Yeah, and humans have to manage AI. At the end of the day, humans have to manage AI. I just went for a physical at the doctor recently. I still have to see my doctor, but the number of patients they have to see each day is increasing, at least in the US, dramatically. And they're using AI there. Instead of typing notes, the entire appointment on our keyboard was just check boxes. She would check yes or no for everything through the whole appointment. So even in the doctor's office, there's AI. So they're able to see more appointments. But then I think, okay, jobs are being created because someone had to create that infrastructure for the appointment. Someone has to go in and test it. So we're just seeing a shift and a change in the jobs that are available in the job market.
So when those middle management or when people come to you and say, my job's changing or I've lost my job, how do you, in your work, how do you approach that? How do you help them look at the future of work and what their role might be and how they might adapt to the new way of working?
I like asking people, what do they want to be doing? Starting there and saying, what do they want to be doing in their new role? Do they want to start taking maybe a more IC role, individual contributor role, and doing some of the strategy? You still need a human to be managing that AI. Or do they want to be going more the management role, where they're managing people, processes, programs, systems, starting there? But then all of this has to exist in the job market. So also asking them, okay, let's look at the job market. What jobs are available? And it sounds really simple, but us saying, okay, let's take what you want and let's go look at some job boards and see what roles exist. Maybe you're interested in something, but does that exist out there? We have to go look at the job board. And if it doesn't exist, you may be really interested in something, but it's not a reality. Unless, of course, you want to create your own company, we have to also look at the realities of the job market. And then I also encourage people, I love LinkedIn. Let's go find some people who held your role. Maybe you had a certain role that's maybe not as popular anymore. Maybe you were a medical scribe and now AI is doing medical scribing. Let's go find people who are medical scribes on LinkedIn and see what roles they moved into and what might be available. And you can use that to then inform you of possible career directions.
Oh, that's interesting. And do you help them use AI? Because it strikes me as you're saying that the kind of thing I would do with that is, take all that data that I'm finding, give it to AI and get a plan, get a strategy. Do you teach them how to use AI for their own professional career development?
Yes, AI can be so helpful. I think what's key is AI only knows what you give it. So unless you're a public figure, AI is not going to know a lot about you. So you have to put good data in there, but then it can be really helpful. I've had a lot of clients look create avatars in there of themselves and give AI some information about them. Of course, you want to be mindful of what information you give, nothing confidential or proprietary, but putting some information in there can be really helpful. Or saying, here's someone who's a role model, let's use them and see what advice they might give me. So AI can be really powerful to give you some insights, or you can say, hey, what careers have other people who have been a medical scribe, where have they went? after this as well. So it can be, I love AI to complement your job search, but it can't supplement it and it doesn't know what you don't tell it. I think that's a piece that sometimes is a misconception. People think it's just going to tell you what to do for a living, but it doesn't know what you haven't shared with it.
One of the first custom GPTs that I built, I think it was literally the second one that I built when OpenAI released custom GPTs, was Jobby the job hunting elf for a friend of mine who was made redundant. And we trained the GPT on her background, her experience, obviously her CV. And now what she does, or what she did back then, was just drop a URL in of a particular job and it would match her skill set to the job and give her a rating of how engaged she might be, what kind of a fit was she for the role. And we did a whole lot of criteria that it gives her. So she can just drop these jobs in and it gives her a really good analysis of the fit between her and the job. And then it goes into providing interview questions and then answering those interview questions so that she can, think more about that before applying for a job. And then there was a button that said, I'm not feeling motivated or I'm feeling despondent about my job search. And when she pressed that, it coached her through how amazing she is and all of her skill sets and reminding her about the wins in her career. And at the end, it said, and if all else fails, call Kate because she'll give you a pickup. So she used that a lot in her job hunting and said that it really helped her to to prepare for those jobs. So
I love that. What I hear too is you created it. I think sometimes people might be hearing all this and then saying, let me just go to GPT and have it tell me what to do. But you have to do that initial work. And I think sometimes people think AI will just do all that work. You have to give it that input. You have to give it those insights. My favorite trick sometimes is you might already have that data somewhere. You can give it your performance reviews. You can give it your old resumes. If you have 360s you've done or letters of rec, but you have to do that initial legwork. And I love that you did that initial legwork here. You can't just assume GPT is going to know you. Otherwise, your results are going to be the same as everyone else. If you just say, tell me what to do, well, it doesn't know you.
Yeah, and that's where you get cover letters and applications that are really obviously AI written because people are not giving it any context about who they are.
Exactly.
And I always liken it to it's an eager little intern that really wants to do a good job for you. And if you don't give it the information, it goes off and finds it somewhere else. So you end up with degrees that you didn't know you had.
Oh, I love that.
It's really important to, as you say, give it the context. One of the things we actually do in our coaching program is we do a professional me document. So this is for business owners, not for people who are applying for roles, but it could fit there too, where they literally put in all those things that you said. So their background, their experience, any personality profiling or leadership profiling. They talk about their communication styles, what they do like doing, what they don't like doing, and then using that as a training document for any custom GPT that they build, because then AI speaks to them in the way that works for them. And it's great for people who maybe are neurodiverse in some way, because then you actually get the AI working with you in a way that works for your brain. So that's
I
another way.
love that. And I could see someone using that in their job search as well. I think that would be really helpful creating that document because it's going to be custom to each person. And I think I love that intern example because then if it's not customized, it's just going to be kind of whatever and not unique to you and your situation.
Yeah, and that custom GPT that we did was really interesting because it did do a really good job of analyzing the fit between her, and not just a fit. Often the power in people applying for jobs is that the employer has the power. It actually equalized the power a lot for her because it was more around, well, does this job deserve her? And so for her, it was like, oh, am I a good fit for this? I'm not just desperate for any job. I want to make sure this is a job that's going to fulfill my personal career goals and that this is going to, take me further in life and that I'm going to want to get up out of bed for in the morning. So I think AI can really provide some of that support, and it doesn't replace a coach or someone to support them through that, because you still need that human support. But in between, because obviously, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if you're doubting your career search, being able to have that support was really useful for her.
I love
So
that.
Kyle, just on that emotional side of things, I imagine that, I find a lot that if people are stuck in the fear about AI, they can't see the opportunity.
Yeah.
So, what are some of I imagine for you that you're helping people with some of their mindset and
Mhm.
emotional aspects as well, because this isn't just another new shiny tech object.
Yeah.
This is a massive shift
Yeah.
in the future of work and how we engage professionally.
Mhm.
So, what kind of things are you seeing around that?
I think people are afraid. It's scary. And I encourage people to maybe start small, can be really powerful instead of kind of jumping all the way in and feel like they have to be a master. Starting really small can be powerful. For me, that's what I did. Instead of feeling like I had to go all the way in, I'm like, well, let me try something 10 or 20 minutes a day. I don't know. You might know this better if there's kind of like a Duolingo for AI, but I've treated like AI like Duolingo. Let me spend 10 or 20 minutes a day starting to learn it. And then also realizing I don't have to be the expert in AI. I'm an expert in careers, in job search, in branding, marketing, storytelling around career. Other people can be the expert in AI. So let me allow them to be the expert and go read and learn from them has been really helpful as well, and kind of take it one step at a time. I remember when computers first came out, it was really intimidating. Oh my goodness, there's so much here. So let me kind of take it one step at a time and ask for help from other people.
Yeah, and the beauty is AI is the Duolingo for AI, right? I always
Mm,
suggest that people say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my business,
yes.
these are the things I want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say, map out a 10-minute tutorial every day for the next 30
Oh,
days that
yes.
steps me through what it is that I want, or
Yeah.
that steps me through so that I learn all
Yeah.
aspects of AI that pertain to my job or my career
Yeah.
or my business, rather than just because, those of us that work in it full time, we can't even keep up with all of the changes that are happening.
Yeah. And it's so user friendly. It's so easy to go in there and say, oh, I don't understand this response or anything like that. I'm usually thinking about chatbots when I think of AI, but in any setting, it's so user friendly as well.
Hmm.
I think for any person or almost any person, it's really not that intimidating once you spend a few minutes getting used to it.
And they're becoming much better at mimicking empathy. I wouldn't say yet that they have empathy, but
No.
they're getting much better at being human and
Yeah.
mimicking empathy. So it does feel sometimes like you're just talking to a good friend or,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you look at people who are already in the workforce, who are professionals,
Mhm.
who maybe their job's safe for the moment, and we were talking before this that I think we've got a fairly bumpy ride over the next few years. I think a lot of companies are going to swing. I mean, you're working more in tech companies, but a
Yeah.
lot of companies are going to get rid of workforces, think AI is the only way, and then regret some of those decisions. I think there's
Yeah.
going to be some major backlash from consumers around AI.
Mhm.
And so we may see a swing back in
Yeah.
the pendulum of how companies are using the adoption of AI. But for someone who's listening who's already in a role, they're feeling quite stable and secure and safe, what might they start thinking about to future proof themselves, I guess, as we go through this transition? And how can they see it as a career advantage rather than a threat?
I think AI is going to be a part of a lot of people's roles. Instead of it taking over your role, it's just going to be a part of every role. I think even as a coach, I'm not worried about it taking over my job, but it might be a part of my job. Can I use it to maybe help summarize a conversation, or can I use it to proofread? I think of it kind of like spell check. We could be nervous or scared when spell check came out, or we can say, hey, this is a really handy, helpful tool. Same with the calculator. So start thinking, what percentage of my job would it be helpful to leverage this tool that's there, that's AI? And think of it like something to just, again, kind of complement what we're doing and can be helpful. And I think really almost any role you can think of, AI could be helpful in certain ways. And I don't think there's a lot of jobs where it's going to completely take over, at least right away. It's just going to be a tool that can be helpful and maybe take away some of those. I love the word repetitive. You said those repetitive pieces that maybe are annoying or frustrating. So you can focus on more of those areas that are more of a value add instead.
And are you seeing big shifts? As I mentioned, you do a lot of work with tech companies. Do you work outside of tech with
Oh yeah,
other?
I work outside of tech as well. I have a lot of clients in retail, in consumer packaged goods. It's other areas as well, and I see them embracing AI. And as you're talking, I'm thinking of this over-indexing on AI. I think of kind of customer service, how people, I know at least in the US, a lot of people get upset where you can't get a hold of an agent, and you're like, it's just a chat bot. I actually want to talk to a human. And a lot of companies are moving back on that. And it's like, oh, maybe we do need a human option here as well. Because consumers are getting frustrated when you can't even connect with a human.
Yeah, we always talk about what's the escape chute. Like, where's
Mm.
the place where a person can go? I'm quite happy to talk to a chatbot if it gives me what I need
Yeah.
in a faster time and resolves my issue correctly.
Yeah.
But where's the point where I can pull that lever and say, no, I want to speak to a human?
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of companies are getting that wrong at the moment because there is no easy way to do that.
There's
One
not.
of the other, sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say there's not, and it's so frustrating when like I know I need an agent, and then I still have to go through 8 buttons, and then it's like, oh, tell us your issue. No, I know I need to talk to an agent. It's so frustrating, and I think it's this pendulum, and eventually it's gonna find some equilibrium, but it might be a little while.
One of the topics that comes up, and it kind of follows on from that, and it's maybe not so much your core expertise, but I'm interested in your perspective, is this concept of authenticity or
Yeah.
disclosure. And I think in chatbots, and
Mhm.
particularly now with voice I mean, I literally had a whole conversation the other day on the phone with an inbound caller that I had filled out a form online. I had an inbound call, and at one point I said, "Are you actually AI?" And he laughed and said, "Oh, ha ha ha! I wish I was AI. I'd have so much more time in my day." And then asked a question that didn't fit with the conversation that we were having. And I was
Wow.
like, "I am sure that this is not a person." And it was just too measured. But it was very
Yeah.
convincing. Like 99% of people would not have picked it up.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just because I listened for it.
Yeah.
What's your view on, and I think this is really important for people looking for roles,
Yeah.
people who are looking to advance their professional career. What's your view on authenticity and disclosure? So saying, yeah, I did use AI for that, or yes, this is an AI voice, as opposed to trying to use AI to cheat.
Yeah.
I
A lot
guess
of
is
job
the short
seekers I
answer.
work with get frustrated because they might reach out to a recruiter or a company, or they might have a recruiter or a company reach out to them and they're not sure, is this person actually reaching out to me? They're saying they're interested and they want me to work here. I've had clients where like, hey, this recruiter said they're really interested. I reply with my resume and they say, oh, I'm not interested. Was I just kind of a canned message, but then they customized it to me? And they're unsure what part of it is real and what part of it is not. And it's really frustrating and confusing where people don't know where AI is being used and where it's not on the job seeker side. And on the flip side, these companies, they don't know, is this applicant applying for our company? Is this their writing sample or is it ChatGPT? It's very confusing on both sides. I know certain platforms are starting to introduce where it says this image was created by AI, and there are certain detections where they can see if something was maybe written by AI. But I think we're going to see more regulations around the use of AI.
And given that things like AI detectors are notoriously wrong,
Yes.
I know
Yep.
plenty of people who've written their own content and it's come up
Yes.
at like 70 or 80%
Yep.
AI detected. How do you see the recruitment industry changing throughout this? Because you're right, like the default measure right now is distrust. And so
Yeah.
automatic messaging and automation that kind of does that on both sides is just creating a lot of distrust. So, how do you think recruitment's going to have to change in the age of AI?
I think smart recruiters, smart companies are going to use it as a tool and it's going to be helpful. I think such a simple way is like updating candidates. It can be used really powerfully to say, here's where you are in the application process. here's a reminder of your interview. Here's some feedback on what didn't go well. And then there's ways where it's going to be used less powerfully to mass message a bunch of candidates who aren't a fit, or for job seekers to kind of spam a bunch of roles that they're not even a fit for. So I think it's kind of that pendulum where some people are going to really abuse it and some people are going to use it really powerfully.
And I know one of the fears that people have in recruitment is around the biases, that if AI is actually screening candidates, that people may never get through because of certain things that show up in their resume. Have you seen any tangible evidence, I guess, that's happening? I know it's a fear. I'm just not sure about the tangible.
I've read some things here and there, and I've also read that some companies are using AI to try to reduce bias. So some companies are doing like a blind reading where they're removing names from applications or removing company names or education. So I've seen more of that, kind of the circles that I'm in or what I'm reading, where companies are using AI to try and remove bias as well. Or some companies even removing referral programs. Like current employees can't refer each other or refer potential talent because they don't want to leverage bias of who you know as well. So I've seen more of that. But I think it's important. Humans create AI and manage AI. So there's going to be human bias in it as well.
Yeah. And I'm really heartened to hear that, because I think there's a lot of fear about how AI is going to be misused. But when I hear the examples where it's being used in really ethical, human-centered, responsible ways, that's where, if we really lean into AI, it can do amazing things for us.
That's what's exciting for me. I work with a lot of clients who have different accessibility needs, and even they are using AI, whether it's recording a session or transcription notes or whatever it may be. I think there's a lot of powerful ways, and I think the good, if used right, could outweigh some of the bad.
Yeah, and time will tell, I guess, how much of each we see, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you look at things like resume writing and interviewing skills, what are you seeing in the AI space? I mean, I've seen some amazing platforms where people can practice real life interviews. What kind of innovation are you seeing around resumes and interviewing when it comes to AI?
I think the ability for people to practice, I think the ability for people to get feedback on their resume. So a lot of people use ChatGPT, Perplexity, different tools to get feedback on their resume and documents. What's interesting, I'm seeing a lot of companies doing initial interviews where people are just interviewing one way. So they might be recorded interviewing, which can be a little intimidating or scary for people, or even where the initial company is having your resume. Instead of the recruiter reading each resume, there might be a summary of your resume they're reading. So that increased importance to make sure that you have the right information and those keywords in your resume as well.
And so is that part of what you do as well in terms of coaching people on how to do that? Because I think it's the same as this shift from SEO to AEO, where
Yes.
traditionally content's been found through search engines, but
Yeah,
now it's being found through AI engines.
exactly.
Yeah, so is the same. It's the same kind of concept that
It's the
people are
same
seeing.
concept. Yeah,
And
making it easy for you to be found by AI and making sure you populate in those searches. And I think part of it is not over indexing on that, not just focusing on the AI, but then also are you building relationships? Can they find you on LinkedIn? Not just relying on one source. Just like if you only relied on SEO and then there's some changes to Google's algorithm or other search engines, then you're going to be worrying. So making sure there's multiple ways that you're getting traffic as well as a job seeker.
Interesting. So, Kyle, as you kind of stand on the hill and look out to the future, what does a positive future with AI in the workplace look like to you? And what do people need to be doing now to prepare for that or to get there?
I think of it as a tool. I think it can be one tool in your tool belt. It's an additional tool that if you leverage it to your advantage, it can be helpful. I think it's going to increase accessibility. I think it's going to increase efficiency, productivity, and it's up to you to decide how you use it and leverage it.
Excellent. And so the future's looking bright from your perspective.
I think it's bright. I think some people, it makes sense to have a little fear. I think there are some people out there who may not want to use it in the best ways, but I think there's more positive people out there than potential negative people.
Yeah, excellent. Always good to see the positives in humanity.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, Kyle, as we wrap up, we'll certainly provide all of your links in the show notes, but are there any parting messages, and how would you like people to connect with you?
I would suggest taking it one step at a time. Find people who are experts in AI. I know you, Kate, are an expert in AI, and find those people, learn from them, and don't feel like you have to go at it alone. There's other people who can support you with this, and it's just a tool. There's still that human element in the job search and in your career, and don't forget that. You're welcome to check out my website, caffeinatedkyle.com, and then I'm on LinkedIn, Kyle Elliott, with 2 L's and 2 T's.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kyle, for your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking with you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the AI Grapple. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and colleagues and subscribe on your favourite podcast platform. We would love to hear your thoughts, so reach out with any questions or comments about the show. Until next time, keep grappling with AI and stay curious.